Well, let's talk about Rikishi because I have my biased opinion about Jey Uso, and I believe in that guy as a star. But I also have a theory as to why this happened, and you're probably right there with me. But let's address the Rikishi reaction first. And by the way, for people that don't know, Rikishi is Jey Uso's father. Jimmy and Jey are twins. He's their father. This is not a podcast host. This is not a show host. This is not a fellow worker reacting. This is a protective father protecting his son. So let's move forward with that in mind.
Okay, I'm not going to give you a ton of quotes here, but it just, as a quote said, "What is it against my boy?" He said. Then he moans that WWE, would they have done it to Randy Orton? I've got facts here, we'll talk about them in a minute. Would they have done this to John Cena? Basically, he's saying that WWE is not treating Jey with enough respect, and the fact that, in at least Rikishi's opinion, I guess, he's more over than basically anyone else on the roster, and he should be treated as such, and he should have been given a longer world title reign, and rather it was... We'll talk about it, obviously, in the next segment, and most people will know why Jey Uso lost. It's all become apparent now. But, I mean, do you at least agree with this sentiment that Jey Uso has been done dirty, basically, by the creative of WWE?
Yeah. I mean, that was one of the quotes by Rikishi on the Stinky Face podcast, according to you. That's the name.
That will always make me happy now.
That's why I want to make you laugh. Make you forget about that rental car in the mountain. Aha. So...
Patreon story, everybody.
I do believe they did Jey dirty because this is the trap. I talked about this many times before, even my personal experience of not wanting to win the Extreme Rising title and wanting Luke Hawx to win it because a babyface champion is a dangerous proposition. It's a slippery slope and it gets stale real quick. Jey didn't get stale. That's the point of contention. He was just ramping up in a way.
I disagree with that. I was thinking...
Well, you know why? Because the way they set it up, they made Jey way too vulnerable and self-doubting before he even won the title. Gunther, I would argue, you're going to talk about Gunther and Goldberg in a couple minutes. Nobody got over in this whole thing. And nobody's going to be over in the end. Think about it. So Jey, the chase of the world title, the merch seller, standing on his own, being a tag team wrestler and being part of a group. I remember during the COVID era, and I watched Jey and I go, that dude's going to be a star. The way he cuts promos, the way he has his own natural pacing and rhythm in promos, much like Punk. Conversational, but with a little bit of wrestling thrown in. Jey's really, really great at that. And Jey did carry that babyface chasing the champion role to perfection, except for the self-doubt and the vulnerability. Take that out. I believe that's where the marks in the office and on the creative team said, well, I mean, he doubted himself and he didn't think he could win the title. They start to think it's real. And also the shiny new part-time toy comes in and we got to get the belt off Jey to put it on a heel to put it on the shiny new old toy. That's the way I look at it. So yeah, I think they did him dirty, but here's what I'm not sure of right now with the current era of WWE. Back in the day, if you came to defend somebody publicly, they will punish that person and they will punish you as well. I don't know if Rikishi's in a position where they bring him in and they humiliate him or do whatever, but they could cool his kid off real quick for a real long time. And he calls himself Main Event Jey Uso. You're already booked into a corner. And I believe Jey Uso is a main event talent. He carried himself so well in the bloodline and stood out. The stuff with Sami Zayn, everything that Jey has been given, he scored with. Even with the lackluster babyface push to WrestleMania, that match against Gunther told a great story, potentially stole part of the WrestleMania show. That's my opinion. And then he won it. And now it's like, oh. Because in this day and age, I've said it how many times, James, people want to see you chase and win the title, but then they end up just wanting to see title changes in general. So your run as a babyface champion can be real lukewarm, if not cold. And I remind everybody, just like the beginning of my, tangent that I'm going on, Rikishi is not a fellow worker trying to stab another worker in the back. He's not in the locker room trying to figure out how he can squeeze himself into this. He's a father who basically is protecting one of his twin sons. And I have to give him credit for that. And he's right. The writers suck. Didn't he say the writers should be fired?
Yeah, basically.
They should be fired before Jey even won the title.
Yeah.
They suck.
I look at it from the other way, I guess, because I understand where he's coming from, but I don't think he's doing anybody any favours, because he's ranted quite a few times on Jey Uso not being protected as he should be, or in his opinion, or whatever else it might be. But I mean, you can use that argument for basically anybody on the roster. But here's the thing: he won the Royal Rumble, he won at WrestleMania, he got the big moment with the yeet, with the whole crowd going, that visual that will live for many, many years afterwards. And then he also specifically mentions Randy Orton and John Cena, WWE or Vince McMahon back in the day. Would you have done this to Randy Orton? 9 of his 14 title reigns were shorter than Jey Uso's at 51 days. Randy Orton's shortest reign was 25 minutes. And then John Cena, 9 of his reigns were shorter than Jey Uso's, and his shortest reign was 5 minutes. It's the worst argument in the world to compare to Randy Orton and John Cena, because I mean, ultimately, I guess the belt is a prop to advance a story. At the worst of times, I suppose. I mean, it should be far more than that. But I mean, Jey Uso didn't have one of the all-time worst title reigns of all time. Far from it.
Well, here's how I want to challenge you on that, because that era of Cena and Orton is in the same era as Triple H and Ric Flair in going for the record number of title wins. You see what I mean? We're in a different world now. We're in a different world of once you lose the title, you may never get it back. Very few people. You've seen him won it because he's from that era of trying to beat Ric Flair's record, which the WrestleMania match against Cody beat Flair's record, correct? 17, 18 times.
17, yeah.
We're not in that world anymore. He's from that era. So Jey and Rikishi, Jey didn't say anything because he's just going to keep his mouth shut. Rikishi is right in that you don't even know if Cody's ever going to get the belt back. Think about that. And Cody had a 2-year storyline, the story, 2 WrestleManias to try to win the title. They're not going to afford Jey the same grace nor patience. So Rikishi's right. Either have him have a long reign or no reign at all. That's what I would say. He would stay way more over doing that. And by the way, he just got beat. Why didn't you have, here's the thing. The most famous one, this is the best analogy I can think of. Ultimate Warrior's the champion. Slaughter's got a hell of a heel run with the Iraqi sympathizer gimmick. They want to take the belt off of Warrior. They want Slaughter to win the belt. They have to figure out a way to distract Warrior to go off to another angle. It's the easiest book, and that's why the writers need to be fired. Triple H knows this. You didn't give Jey Uso somebody to say, I'm going to come back and win that world title, but I got to take care of you first. Jey just lost and said, well, I guess I'll get to the back of the line, guys.
Back in the tournament again.
Yeah, but that's the point. You need, he's in the King of the Ring, right?
Yeah. Where they're all baby faces.
The King of the Ring means nothing now. It's not like what you did Austin and all these other people that won it, or Brett. Think about it. We're talking about times where these things meant something. Now it's hold on to that spot as long as you can, because then the office will be more inclined to go back to you for a second, third, fourth title reign, because you carried. That's why Cody may get it back, but we might be in the era of been there, done that. Here's the new toy. Then we get to the point of you sacrificed Jey Uso's babyface run as challenger and champion from a big WrestleMania win. You've already sacrificed Gunther's invincibility with the Sami Zayn loss at WrestleMania 40. Now another loss at WrestleMania 41, only to win it back so Goldberg can win it. So you're burying Gunther and making him look less than. I agree. Maybe too emotional and too close to the sun because Rikishi is his dad, but Rikishi's right. Fire the writers. They suck.